Ironic, isn't it? Meghan Markle struggles against bankruptcy end of the road. Well, folks, could we finally be seeing the end of the road for Meghan Markle? I mean, seriously, though, has there ever been a more brutally effective piece of social satire than that South Park episode that made fun of Harry and Meghan? Ever since it aired in the middle of February, Meghan, previously a seemingly ubiquitous and unstoppable cultural phenomenon, has basically disappeared from public life. She's only made that one formal appearance at an awards show, which ended in that ridiculous paparazzi car chase claim, and she has given exactly no interviews. Now, Meghan and Harry's media empire also seems to be imploding on itself. Spotify has cut their £15.6 million podcast deal, and senior executive Bill Simmons labeled the pair of them fucking grifters. There are also reports that Netflix is sick and tired of them and might not be renewing the £80 million deal they signed back in 2020. The Sun's reporting that an anonymous insider said the feeling is the lemon has been fully squeezed. Personally, I thought that South Park episode was genius. I mean, the worldwide privacy tour couldn't have gotten any better. And I thought to myself when I first saw it back in February that was going to take some time for Meghan Markle to get over, especially in a place like California where Meghan and Harry live and where image is everything. So towards the end of the episode, there is a part in which the character that's supposed to be Prince Harry breaks away from a session that he and Meghan are having with a brand advisor, and he wants to speak from the heart. He says passionately, "We don't need to be a brand, do we? If it's truly what we want, then we really can get away from it all. No more magazines and Netflix shows. We really can live a normal life." And then, of course, the one supposed to be Meghan, the Instagram-loving bitch-face wife, she doesn't answer and she doesn't make any facial expression whatsoever. So he continues on saying, "Yes, I'm sure you agree, darling. We can be the people we talked about being, with no more worries about how we look or the image we project to people. What matters is what we have on the inside." And when there's still no response from the wife, he decides to pull her head back like her jaw was on some kind of hinge, and he looks down her neck. "Hello," he calls out, but there's only an echo there. The implication is pretty hard to ignore, that there is absolutely nothing inside of Meghan, that she's vacuous, she's empty, there's no substance. And instead, she only exists at the most superficial level of image in magazines and on TV shows. Whew, I'm sure that had to hurt. In the past, it did seem like they were able to just write off all the criticism they got for their endeavors. I mean, not least for walking away from the royal family. But anyway, they got it from all directions, from commentators in the media, especially in the UK. It seemed like it was easy for them to say they don't care about people like Piers Morgan and Jeremy Clarkson because they're not cool. But then all of a sudden, they were savaged by the coolest kids in Hollywood, the widely loved South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone. So did that affect their marketability? Well, I think you can decide. Back in 2021, right after they had arrived in the US to start their new lives, Meghan and Harry, thanks to one suspect to the glamour conferred by their royal and victim status, were celebrated by the highest echelons of American society. For instance, how could we forget the text message that Meghan got from Beyoncé the day after the Oprah Winfrey interview aired? I mean, as chance would have it, she received this message while she was being filmed for the Netflix docuseries. So Meghan sees it and she squeals, "I still can't believe she knows who I am." And then she explains it to Harry. She said she wants me to feel safe and protected. She admires and respects my bravery and vulnerability. And she thinks I was selected to break generational curses that need to be healed. Oh my goodness. And then Harry's response is well put. Okay, now let's contrast that with the account of comedian Tim Dillon, who in late May of this year described how he had recently been at a party in Hollywood at which some celebrities were apparently laughing as they were passing around text messages they had gotten from Meghan. He said, quote, "They're hucksters. That's what they are. We can see it. It's right out there in the open. I was at a celebrity party the other night talking to somebody about this, and they go, these people, it's just constant with them. They're just like moths to the flame trying to hang out with celebrities. They're like low-grade reality stars that are trying to attach to anything. I'm literally at the party," he said, "and they are showing me texts from this woman, Meghan, begging people to hang out. She's trying to get places. It's sad, and a lot of it isn't working. And they're rolling their eyes to me, and we're all having a good laugh about this. And he said a lot of the people at the party were like, we text her back, she's the Duchess, but we've had enough. Now, maybe it's hard not to feel a little bit of sympathy for Meghan, at least because it feels like it is the end of the road when it comes to her reputation. So first of all, she infuriated so many people in the UK with her antics, but then she left, seemingly for the promise of being better understood and so more free in the US. But it seems like history is just repeating itself. And now, more and more, she is being openly made fun of for what is perceived to be the grift, the swindle of monetizing and using for social advancement the supposed terrors of a life of this royal privilege. And whether it's fair or not, it seems like Harry gets off more lightly because of the widely held suspicion that he's very dumb and so easily led. Macbeth to her Lady Macbeth, basically. And perhaps there is another way to rebrand successfully. After all, it is what Hollywood specializes in. Recently, Meghan signed with the talent agency WME, and if anybody can help her turn things around, I guess it would be them. So maybe that would begin with classy brand endorsements. There is discussion that they've got some deal with Dior, but I'm not convinced. It is pretty hard to imagine how that could possibly be successful. Or maybe it starts with a long period of silence and unheralded dedication to unglamorous worthy causes. Now, ironically enough, that's basically what's expected of a member of the royal family. And it could be the more boring option, but at least it's harder to make fun of. Does anybody believe, though, that Meghan is still going to go after a deal with a luxury brand after her podcast deal with Spotify completely fell apart? She already had some and they didn't work, and she never stops trying, does she? The only thing that's different is we've got another management company involved, and the announcements are to deflect and maintain her perceived status. She had connections with Candles and the others. All her photo ops, like that visit to a homeless event, were always being released with connections to the clothing they were wearing. This little amount they managed to generate was in their accounts. And let's not forget the drink that Oprah helped to promote. Just think of all the messages from their rooms. They were all big QVC sales. They just didn't sell. Does anybody wonder why they don't do them anymore? Well, I think we can make a list. The first iteration of the website sold products, and then before they ran away from the UK, Meghan had worked with Kaylee and the marketing firm that she used for the TIG. They bragged about and they highlighted their work on their websites. And Meghan and Harry announced through the firms all the deals they were signing. Just remember the headlines, they were constantly being rebuffed. The candles, the clothes, the drinks, the tat, nothing is going to work for them as influencers because their record is pitiful. And the after-dinner speeches, the toxicity really means they should not be touched. Just like we saw with Bud Light, the wrong influencer means very bad news for the company. And both of them always look so disheveled, like they just rolled out of bed. They've got those fake smiles on their faces, or they just look angry. Who in the world would want to buy a lifestyle product from the two of them? They look to me like some dealers from the back alley. Meghan probably needs to be saving her pennies because there's no future income coming her way other than maybe a big divorce settlement. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.